Once upon a time, in a small village nestled near the edge of a dark forest, there lived a poor miller and his beautiful daughter, Elara. The miller was a boastful man, always eager for attention, but he often exaggerated his tales. One day, as fate would have it, the king of the land was traveling through the village on a royal hunt. Hearing the miller boasting to a crowd, the king stopped his horse and asked what the fuss was about. The miller, seeing an opportunity to impress, puffed out his chest. "Your Majesty," he said with a deep bow, "I was just telling the villagers about my daughter Elara. She's so talented she can spin straw into gold." The king's eyes gleamed at the thought of wealth. "Spin straw into gold, you say? That is quite the talent. Bring her to my castle tonight, and we shall see if your claims are true. If she can perform this miracle, she will be richly rewarded. But if not..." The miller's heart raced. He hadn't meant to lie, but now he had no choice. That evening, Elara was summoned to the palace. She was led to a small room, filled with piles of straw, a spinning wheel, and an empty basket. The king entered and commanded, "By morning, I expect to see this straw turned into gold. If you fail, you will pay with your life." He slammed the door shut, locking it behind him. Elara, alone and frightened, began to weep. "What have I done to deserve this? How can I spin straw into gold?" Suddenly, a strange little man appeared out of nowhere. He was small, with wild hair and a mischievous grin. "Why are you crying, my dear?" he asked. Elara looked up, startled. "I must spin this straw into gold by morning or the king will kill me. But I have no idea how to do such a thing." The little man's eyes twinkled. "Ah, but I do. I can help you, but what will you give me in return?" Desperate, Elara reached for her necklace, a family heirloom. "I'll give you this," she offered. The little man grinned. "It's a deal." He sat at the spinning wheel, and in no time the room was filled with gleaming gold thread. By dawn, the straw was gone and the basket overflowed with gold. When the king saw the gold, he was astonished but not satisfied. "If you can do this once, you can do it again," he declared. That night, he led Elara to a larger room, filled with even more straw. By morning, all this must be gold. Again, Elara despaired, and again, the strange little man appeared. "What will you give me this time?" he asked. Elara looked at her hand and slipped off her ring. "Take this," she said. The little man accepted the ring with a grin and spun the straw into gold once more. But the greedy king still wasn't satisfied. The next night, he led Elara to a vast hall filled with straw. "If you succeed again," the king said, "I will marry you and make you my queen." The thought of marrying such a cruel man filled Elara with dread, but what choice did she have? For a third time, the little man appeared. "What will you give me this time?" he asked with a sly smile. "I have nothing left," Elara said, tears in her eyes. The little man leaned in closer. "Very well, I'll spin the straw into gold for you. But in exchange, when you become queen, you must give me your firstborn child." Elara gasped. How could she agree to such a terrible bargain? But the fear of losing her life was greater than the fear of the future. Reluctantly, she agreed. "I promise," she whispered. The little man went to work, spinning the straw into gold. By morning, the hall was filled with more gold than the king had ever seen. True to his word, the king married Elara and made her his queen. Time passed, and Elara forgot about her terrible promise. A year later, the queen gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, and the kingdom rejoiced. But one dark night, the little man returned. "Now it's time to pay your debt," he said with a wicked grin. "Give me the child as you promised." Elara, heartbroken, pleaded with him. "Please take anything else, gold, jewels, my crown, just don't take my child." The little man thought for a moment and then said, "I will give you 3 days. If you can guess my name within that time, you may keep your child. If not, he will be mine." For the next 2 days, Elara sent her messengers across the land to gather every name they could find. When the little man returned, she tried name after name. "Is it Robert? Timothy? Edgar?" The little man laughed. "Not even close," he said before vanishing again. On the second day, she tried even more names. "Is it Bartholomew? Ezekiel? Cornelius?" The little man cackled. "Wrong again." By the third day, Elara had nearly lost all hope. But that evening, one of her servants came to her with news. "Your Majesty, I was deep in the forest when I saw the strangest thing. A little man dancing around a fire, singing a song. He sang, 'Tonight I'll dance, tomorrow I'll win, for the queen will never guess my name is Rumpelstiltskin.' Alara's heart leaped. At last, she had the answer. That night, when the little man appeared, he grinned, ready to claim the child. "Well, Queen, do you know my name?" he asked smugly. Alara smiled and said, "Is your name Rumpelstiltskin?" The little man's face twisted with rage. "How could you know?" he shrieked. In his fury, he stamped his foot so hard that the ground split open, and he fell into the chasm, disappearing forever. Alara sighed with relief, holding her baby close. She and her family lived in peace from that day forward, free from the strange little man and his terrible bargains. And so, they all lived happily ever after.